Alright, we're ready to get into the warrant.
We are.
Alright, so the ABC had some ideas about this. I'm trying to get it open. And that was on the 18th. Alright. I wanna write this on the board again, just so we can.
I have this one.
Yeah, it's in your pile.
Okay. So let's
Oh,
see.
yeah, yours
Any-
is the same.
That's the one that's approved right now from DRA.
This is approved by DRA?
Yeah, but we can certainly make changes.
Okay.
The wording and
Well, let's just, alright,
the amounts, I know we'll have to make a change on some of the amounts because we do have the quote
Yep.
for the police cruiser that I didn't have earlier this afternoon.
alright. 1 and 2 are what they are. Paving. We wanted to raise $155,000 to come from fund balance. And we have all the roads listed there?
No.
I'm gonna double check with David.
Breakneck.
I do know I'm missing Breakneck.
The little
I
road
think I
that
gave
runs
you one.
above the,
I got one, but I don't have page 3.
No, 3 is just, it
historical,
says
what's that little one that goes?
something from DRA, yeah.
Okay.
It's that little tiny one right there.
What is? That goes through- Yeah, I know I need the
Well, you can do
breakdown.
parking lots too, you just say parking lot.
Mhm.
Alright, so we have, on Article 2, or Article 3, excuse me, add all road names.
And parking lots, just in general, I'd probably
Yeah.
say.
And quote parking lots.
Yeah,
Town parking lot.
town park, yeah. To the stores, something.
Alright, Article 4, purchase a 10-wheel truck for the highway department. And this is $191,000 to come from capital reserves. And is that the correct name of the capital reserve fund?
Yes, it
And the
is.
establishment date and all that good stuff?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Alright, Article, any comments, questions on that? Excellent,
Are you,
go ahead.
are you gonna comment on where this is not gonna impact taxation? Sometimes that has been in
I
the
could-
wording.
Yes.
If you want me to add, I could go back and add all of those, which would
Yes.
be.
I would say anywhere where it's coming from capital reserves or from fund balance, we would say
And nothing from taxation.
no amount to be raised by new taxation.
I can go back and add that.
What does it mean, recommendations required?
The select board has to vote on any money issues.
Oh, okay.
Alright. So, 2 articles then, Article 5 and Article 6 on the cruiser. The first article, to see if the town will vote to authorize the selectmen to enter into a 5-year lease agreement in the amount of $30,348. Is this an accurate number?
Yes, you also have the
right
quote
here.
in your file.
You gotta get here earlier.
God, no kid, it's all here, I just didn't know what it was. No speed.
And I have to
And we
change
can buy it for
the
$1.
payment amount, I do know that.
Okay,
We do know
alright.
That's the wrong number though.
What's the wrong number?
Well,
Well, no, not if you figure that's a finance cost, I guess.
cause you don't have to raise that whole $6,800 this year, cause you're only gonna be doing probably 6 months.
Right, and what I think he's saying is this, the set price says $30,348.
but the amount to be financed is
It's 30,893.
I would think that would be the number that you would put down.
Yeah, I will, like I said, this quote came in later, so I know I have to go put, the accurate numbers
Okay.
in for the payment amount, the finance, and then the other one is the outfitting.
And do
I just had to plug something in for them.
I assume, do we need to have the full amount of the financed cost, you know what I mean? I'm not doing this in my head, but is 30,893 reflective of 5% APR over 5 years?
It's $4,000.
Exactly. So, in other words, are we supposed to put down the actual
Total.
amount financed or the total cost of the lease? That's my question.
That's a good
I
question.
don't know about that.
I don't know.
I don't know either, but it might be worth
Look at the
asking.
last one.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
Or if you're gonna be
How that
talking,
was done up, yeah.
talk to DRA and,
Alright,
well,
now
they
that I
approved
have,
the
now
last
that
one.
I have these amounts, I
Okay,
will,
go.
yep, I will double check on all those.
Yeah.
Because part of that's
it
gonna be the
doesn't
down
change how
payment.
much we're raising this
Mhm.
year.
Right,
What is that total for the lease again, Kelly?
30,893.
Yeah. The annual payment is $68.51.11. You might wanna write that down.
685111.
Yeah. That's the annual payment. And there's 5 of them. For a total of $34,682.23. Or somewhere near there.
Okay.
Total finance cost would be 34,255.55.
Pretty close.
That's a lot better than when I was thinking this 68 was a monthly payment and I multiplied it times 60. Alright, so no issue with that, to be raised by taxation.
Each year. Does it have to say each year? Do we have to put it in each year?
I don't think,
Nope, because it'll go in their budget next year.
right.
You could,
Oh, it goes in the budget next year and
Yeah.
then they approve that.
Right.
I get it.
alright,
Well, theoretically then, as far as permission goes, all we need is the $6,400. And the rest of it can get taken care of on other years.
absolutely. They can decide every year whether they wanna keep it or not.
No, it'll be in the budget. But they still can decide, but
Absolutely,
it'll be contained in the budget, it won't be a warrant article.
correct.
Correct.
So we really don't need to raise, we don't need to have them
Sand.
approve the 30,000, do we?
Yes, they need a number.
Gravel,
Gravel,
Dear
not
needs
salt.
a number.
Okay.
we see it on.
Alright, Article 6, any other comments on Article 5?
Nope.
Article 6, outfitting the cruiser, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 for the purpose of outfitting the new leased police cruiser
Okay.
and authorize the withdrawal of $5,000 from the Police Capital Reserve Fund established in 2011, correct date, created for that purpose. There will be no new taxation.
Oh, you got it there.
So Penny gave me a new figure for that. That new figure is 11,281.
To outfit it?
Outfitting and decals.
I don't think we've got that in our budget.
What kind of decal?
Holy crap.
We got 15.
They're gonna give us a
Yeah,
white
like-
envelope this time.
I don't,
Do you have some detail on
Yeah,
what
little
that is?
breakdown.
I don't think, Bob has all the detail, and we just got the numbers so we could plug something in here.
that was 11,280 what?
Yeah.
11,281.
Gold leaf, get us on that baby. Gold leaf, that's what they are.
I've got a question
I'll
about
see it.
the outfitting. So the equipment that's there, would that be considered needed equipment? Obviously, it's needed equipment for the cruiser.
Right.
So whether it's lights or radios or whatever it is they wanna add, these are things they have to have for the cruiser?
Yes.
We
I
don't
don't know,
know.
we haven't seen the list.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So if we were to assume that they were, because they're asking for it, wouldn't it make sense for all that to be in the same article? I know it can get a little wordy, but
It's
Well, you
It's
can,
what we're told,
but
right?
you'd have to have a
It's
3/5
paid for
vote.
differently.
Right.
you pay for one, you pay for the cruiser this way, you pay for the extras that way.
Right.
So
Right.
what if it's voted down, how does it get paid for? Do they have a cruiser with no lights, unmarked?
Yes.
That's true,
Yeah.
that's exactly what.
I
And
would prefer
specific-
not to end up in that situation again, cause last year the lettering didn't get done until I began to ask about it and continue to ask about it.
Yeah, honestly, if the cruiser passed, but the outfitting did not only would it not happen through the warrant article, but we could not do it through budget.
Right.
Because it was turned down.
Because it was turned down as a warrant, so,
I don't see it being turned down.
I don't
but
either.
If it were to be, that's the question, cause whether it's a yes or a no, it could be no, so if it's no, what happens?
if it's no, then nothing happens. Yeah. But we can't combine them without, if, the answer is if we were to combine them and attempt to take money through capital reserves to pay for that, then we would have to eliminate the escape clause, and it would take a 3/5 vote of the town to enter into long-term debt.
Welcome to Alstead.
Would be a couple paragraphs for that warrant article.
It would be. We felt it was easier to break it up into two. We thought we could do it all in one.
But he has a
we
point.
can't. Yeah,
He has a very good point.
yeah.
And that is, should they accept one, well, how about the other way, they turn the cruiser down and accept
Vote
the
no.
upgrade?
Well, that'd be a good way to get the money out of, cause it would just be withdrawn and then it would go into the fund balance, wouldn't it?
Vote no.
Good way to
on
get it
fine.
out.
Vote no on fine. Just kidding, Penny.
And to speak to the lettering, I don't know if that can be in the warrant article, but it seems like the last time that we talked about it, having a cruiser that was easily identifiable and you could obviously tell what and when and where it was, I think is important if it's an emergency vehicle.
We did,
Well, to reiterate, the selectmen have, and Penny, you might wanna listen to this part. The selectmen were very, that's okay. The selectmen were very, very clear in specifically saying we do not want blackout lettering on the last cruiser. And we
That's
wanted
my
bright
takeaway
white.
From it, and did you make that clear to your new chief also?
We did.
Okay, then,
We're just making it clear to everybody.
That's why it went from five
an
to
underline.
ten.
On camera now.
Okay. Any other comments on the
Yeah, do we get a
outfitting?
list of what the upgrades are?
Yes, we're not gonna, I see no way we can vote on this tonight. We can't vote on this tonight.
Because we don't have the list?
Yeah. I have no,
I'd like to see a list.
We may be able to,
if one is forthcoming before the end of the meeting, we'll vote on it. Otherwise, we can't.
It'll help their recommendation if you can see what, like you have
Penny,
to
do
make
you
a
have a list?
recommendation, right?
I'm sorry, I was texting, what?
She doesn't have the list, correct?
The upfits to this card, do you have a list? Is there a list of
Oh,
those?
yes, there was a quote, there was a quote done with, Green Mountain Communications.
Do we have access
Does it list
to
it right out that we can see?
Can you
what
get
it
it
Talk
is?
for
to
him?
Bob about that, he's got it in a file in his office,
Okay,
in a budget file.
Okay,
So I'm not gonna go grab it for you now.
that's what we were hoping for.
Oh, no, I'm not gonna
That's
do
okay.
that. And I'm sure that there'll be no problem, he'll be in tomorrow and I can make sure Kelly has a
Okay.
copy of that
And
available.
when do we have our next meeting?
But yes, there is a list.
You have no choice, this is it,
This is it,
Yeah.
Forces are delivered.
it's posted on Monday.
yeah. This is
not gonna happen.
the deadline.
Yeah. I don't know how we can vote to
In the
outfit when we
deliberative
don't
session,
know.
in the deliberative session, we can,
Zero it out, you can actually, if you wanted to.
in the
Or
actual
we
meeting,
could increase it to the amount.
Right.
now,
We could increase it in the amount at the deliberative session.
Correct.
I'm not really feeling the love to say, let's make it $15,000, then we can try to vote to reduce it to what it should be.
no.
How about we make it $1 and go up from there at the deliberative session?
As long as it's there, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
the intent.
I don't have a problem leaving it at time. Whatever.
It seems to me that if you're worried about one of these getting passed and the other one not, you better have as much as you can, or as close as you can in what you present. Cause I think the more you get people talking about it and thinking about it, and worrying about it, then they might start saying, well, I don't need the
Bob got
light.
this quote.
Yes.
So we might wanna trust our new chief to,
Mhm.
I have no idea what's on it.
I haven't either.
I
are you
don't,
gonna know when he shows us?
No, but I am,
I'll have a better idea.
I can at least say to somebody, I read it.
Ceramic door panels for the.
How about,
I
how about
am
we,
curious.
the other thing is if we put in a number of $1, or we put in a number of $5,000, and then we get to the deliberative session and say, no, I'm sorry, it's really 11,000, that's sort of a bait and switch.
Right.
So do we want to put in a more realistic number at this time?
Have we seen a realistic number on a 10-wheeler?
Right.
Yeah,
I haven't seen nothing in front of me that says what that thing has.
Oh yeah, there was
See.
a list. David came in with a list. I don't know if you were here or not.
Does it have a CD player?
I think it does.
that's
I'm
super
sure.
Most of
cool.
those rigs do anyways
I'm
nowadays.
sure it does.
You sure it does?
Then I would propose that we raise this to $10,000 to have a more realistic number that's,
What, 11 something?
Yeah, do,
Just do it, what
Do
the
it.
quote is.
I don't
If we
agree
see
with that.
something out of the ordinary, bring it up and get it reduced.
Right.
okay.
We'll,
We can do
we'll
it
go
then.
the other way, we'll do 11, whatever he asks for, and we'll also ask Penny to give us a list of the,
I can produce
Okay.
that tomorrow, it's just in Bob's desk
And then
tonight.
at the
I'm not
deliberative
comfortable
session, if
calling
there's
from
something
his desk.
outrageous in there that we don't want, we can address
No.
it.
All right, that works. So what's the total from Bob?
11 something.
11,281. So I will change that.
Be about $4,000 in the capital reserve fund.
That is a hard number to swallow though.
It is.
But that's more in line with, I mean, the original quotes on the whole thing
I
together
mean,
was,
you're talking radio
That
and
stuff's
lights,
expensive.
I know that's all
Yeah.
included.
right, we
Ridiculous.
were talking $42,000 for the thing before.
Mhm.
This number is lower than I thought it was,
That's true.
so it's still in the ballpark, I'd like to get the specifics. Any more comments on Article 6?
Will you have a note in either 5 or 6 about how awful it would be if they don't pass
I
together?
don't think we're allowed to do that.
The selectmen have usually put together a letter that goes out to
Yeah.
taxpayers,
Okay.
talking about how we feel. And I assume do you guys wanna do that again this year?
No. Nobody reads them anyway. You can make them
Oh,
available.
yes, we do.
You can make them available over in the hallway or whatever. Look at this one, you read it?
Yeah,
Look at this one.
How would
That's
you
what
do
you're
it?
talking about, the way.
no, that's a good thing to say, to send out. Don't they usually put it in the town
I think
report?
that's about the only way some people even get it,
Yeah,
An idea
it
about
gives them
that.
an idea.
Yeah.
you know? I mean, the
And
school district
do they
does
do
it.
that, did they do that before the deliberative session, or do they do
No,
that before
no.
the vote? I think
It's before the
vote.
town report, cause then you know what everything is. And I think
We're in the
sometimes it
process
goes in the
of
town
putting together
report,
the
doesn't
Town
it?
report for the printers.
I think so.
Don't they sometimes stuff it in there? Didn't they one year? I don't know.
God, I can't remember when we set
Just a
this up
mailer.
last year. Yeah, the question is do we need to bust our humps and get something out this week?
No,
or
it
do
should
we
be
need to
after.
after the
After the
deliberative
Yes,
session?
yes.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Good.
All right. Any other comments on Article 6?
Although we didn't address Chris's problem. Put them together.
The letter would.
That's what the letter's for?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good luck.
All right, Article 7, Bridge Capital Reserve Fund, raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 to be added to the Bridge Capital Reserve Fund previously established in 2012. Some to come from fund balance, no amount to be raised from taxation. I would ask that, as you go through these, Kelly, that however we're wording, no amount to be raised through
You want
taxation,
that on all of them.
consistently like the same phrase,
Yep.
instead of no new taxation, we're not gonna take any more money, no more. Just that they're all the same, no copy and paste. Any
No
comments on
amount to- I'm
that?
gonna use no amount to be raised by taxation, cause these are templates,
That's
so,
fine.
yes.
Is there a dollar amount for what's in the capital reserve for bridges now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Approximately 152,000.
Is it enough to cover the worst bridge if you had to put in
Well,
another
we're
one?
not, haven't gotten to that point yet, but originally we were trying to do was save to do like a state bridge,
Okay.
full replacement. Now we're looking at some other options that,
I like the one that's down there now.
the temporary bridge.
Yeah, the Hill Road. I think Joel said that thing could be moved too, like if
Yeah.
it ever got fixed and we could reuse it or something.
Yeah, we'll sell it. Municipal bid,
Alright, any other comments on Article 7?
probably go pretty fast too.
Alright, hearing nothing. Article 8, Library Capital Reserve Fund. See if the town of Alstead will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 to be added to the Library Capital Reserve Fund previously established in 2010. $10,000 to come from fund balance and $5,000 to be raised through taxation.
That's different than when we left it last time, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Is there a
What
reason?
this is apparently Kelly has the recommendations of the AABC.
That's, yes.
Okay, that's what this is going. So, I don't have in front of me what it was originally,
It was $15,000
all to come from
taxation.
taxation. And the AABC is recommending 10,000 from fund balance.
The problem with that is it pushes our, remember that number you put, we started with 150.
Yep.
Then we went to 175.
And the grand new total is 180,000. It does increase it by $5,000 through all these recommendations.
Yeah.
It also increases the amount to be raised by taxation. But we'll get to that point too.
I have, do you have
Well-
something that you're looking at?
We've exceeded our goal
I have that too.
by a considerable amount of money.
Do
Which
you wanna
just-
talk about that a little bit? We'll talk about the AABC recommendations before we
Is
proceed.
there,
any
are there
further.
more than this? Or do they change all of these all the way down through?
We don't have that many to change.
Diff-
We only have 2 left.
We just added one.
They added 20,000 to go to the fire because
Oh.
it's
No
gonna
matter which
cost
way.
some amount of,
Yeah, no matter which way, if you do refurbish or replace, eventually you're gonna have to do one or the other. If you put a little bit away, eventually you'll get there, but.
right. And the only way I would think you would not do something there would be if you had no intention of replacing or refitting the other
Has
truck.
anyone looked at that truck?
The 2000 pumper? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it,
Is it being well kept?
oh, that part, I don't know about that.
Because these trucks, you know,
Last
yes,
week,
I hear about the NFPA guidelines and all this stuff.
guideline, yes.
Which are
These trucks
written by
are-
the manufacturers, by the way, I wanna sell you a new one.
These trucks are not put out like a truck in Keene. They're not out 5 times, 6 times a day. They're out 5 or 6 times a month.
Right.
You know, we really need to take a step back, look at it, make sure the maintenance is being done, cause that's one of the biggest failures in this town, is maintenance. That highway department is a prime example, the maintenance up there is horrible.
The, no
When you
matter
s-
which way you figure it, that truck is a 2000 right now. So you figure if we're gonna get last 30 years, which I would say is a good number to probably shoot for.
It's
So the
built
other truck
for-
will be 15 years old. You know, so you kinda get on that pattern. If you want 2 stations, if you don't, say the word, you know? That's
That's
the
the
whole
question.
We're at a
point.
level of equipment we cannot sustain.
Well-
ever.
Yeah.
Unsustainable, did you hear that?
And-
Well, I totally agree with you, and if you'll allow me just a minute or two.
Be my guest.
I talked to Chris at the end of the last meeting. I told him there's 3 things, what you want, what you need, and what you can afford. Because we need $20,000 for the capital reserve for the fire, doesn't mean that we can afford it. And the whole analysis of that is most simply stated in this manner. When I say that the town's taxes are unaffordable, I don't mean that I don't have the money to pay my taxes. By unaffordable, I mean that the percentage of the town's valuation, we got what, $160 million worth of valuation. When you start to take more than 2.5% of that valuation for the taxes for 1 year, you start to affect the market value of the properties that you're taxing. The tax is a lien. The tax is when somebody buys a house, they buy the building, but they also buy the responsibility or the obligation to pay the town every single year. And that payment is a percentage, usually, always, of the total valuation. And when taxes become unaffordable, what it means is that you're paying so much that you're depreciating the value of your property. And that number generally is 2.5%. Once you start to go over that, you start to push people's buttons, and you'll start getting a lot more pushback from the town. When I went through the numbers, I got $275,000 or somewhere in there for the school, $700,000 for the county, $900,000+ and more now for the town. We're up to somewhere around $4.6 to $4.8 million a year. 2.5% of our valuation, town valuation, $160 million. 2.5% of that, I believe, last time I calculated it, was $4 million. We're looking at exceeding 3% of our valuation. That is when taxes become unaffordable. Not when people can't pay them. We have provisions for taking care of people who can't pay their taxes. We take their property away from them and we sell it to somebody else. That's not a problem.
Not for the past 10 years, we didn't.
Huh?
Not for the past 10 years.
What's not
It's been
so?
a long time since.
Nobody's
anybody-
taking property here.
No, but this provision is there to take care of that problem.
Sure.
When you start exceeding the 2.5% level for townwide valuation, you start to have people refuse to pay the price, the going price, the market value of the property. And you can see example after example in town. We've got at least 3 properties this year in the village that is